Okay, I've got 25 and a half. We're going once, going twice. All in, fair warned, and sold.
You're listening to the How's It Going podcast.
Tony Abbott in Budgie Smugglers.
Yeah, no.
Interest rate cut
for the election.
Interest rate cut, Charles. Interest rate cut down 0.25.
I just want milk that tastes like real milk.
What do you mean the bank is out of money? Insolvent?
Let there be 1,000 blossoms bloom as far as I'm concerned. But I ain't spending any time on it because in the meantime, every 3 months, a person is torn to pieces by a crocodile in North Queensland.
Hello and welcome back to the How's It Going podcast. I'm here with Ben and Madison. My name is Christian. Say hi, guys.
Hi.
Hi.
This is going to be a continuation from our last episode. We're basically going to continue covering
Don't be fooled by the change of outfit. I forgot to mention that.
Well, they're just listening, Madison.
We're sponsored by Ralph Lauren on this one as well.
Once again, like I said to Madison, they're just listening for the time being. If they're watching us live, it means they're checking out our socials, which is very good for us. Thank you.
Keep checking them out.
Like, follow, and please
Subscribe.
send a DM abusing Kara.
Whoa. Listen, I'm not the real estate agent in the room. I'll leave that to you guys.
You're outnumbered.
Probably got more of those than I do. What do I know? I'm just a mortgage broker.
Yeah, Monday morning, 8 a.m.
No, but look, just to get us back on track, because we get sidetracked very easily, we're going to basically continue on our journey of going over the home buying process. Very, very brief summary. Future episodes, we plan to elaborate on a lot of these points as well, by the way, so please don't stress if something wasn't abundantly clear. Last two sort of steps that we're going to talk about are how to actually get to settlement. So once you have had an offer accepted, what happens next? What's the race to the finish line look like? And then the last part's going to be life after settlement, because obviously once you buy a property, most of us are not buying houses in cash. How do you sort of manage things moving forward? How does it all kind of look? That's going to be the bulk of today's episode. We're going to go from there.
And if we don't touch on something, please feel free to submit a question, or if something was unclear,
In the words of
drop a
Benjamin,
comment.
send us an abusive DM.
Yeah. There's no dumb questions.
Worst we can do is say no.
Exactly right.
I beg to differ. When Ben asks questions, it makes me rethink that mentality.
Yeah, that's my mortgage broker right there.
A lot of trust in this room, guys.
So last thing that we touched on was the cooling off period. So what happens after the cooling off period expires? So before that 5 p.m. on that last day, you're going to transfer the remaining 5 or 10% deposit, that amount that hurts. Not the amount that hurts as much as settlement day.
And it goes straight into Ben's public accounts.
Yeah, straight into the public account. No trust accounts here. So that big amount that hits. So now you've got, on average, we'll talk about a standard settlement. You've got 42 days. Mm-hmm. During that time, you will hear from your agent here and there. You'll sign some loan doc, depends how good of an agent you have.
I was just going to jump in and say technically could be 32 or 37 days after the cooling off expired. Just to be painful.
True.
The point is you'll have a few weeks.
You'll have a few weeks, sorry. So I wasn't getting that technical.
You might even have more, case by case basis.
Yeah, exactly. Could have 14 months.
True.
So
look at us, guys. Throwback to our last episode.
Yeah, that's it.
Like a podcast cinematic
Inside
universe
jokes.
developing.
So after that time, you send that 5 or 10% deposit through. Again, touch base with your real estate agent. You may have questions. You may want to go in and get a quote. You may want to measure up with some furniture. Again, depending on how nice your vendors are, if the property's vacant, how nice your vendor is, you'll be able to go back and do those little nitty-gritty things. Prior to settlement, you will do a lot of document signing with your bank, with your broker, with your solicitor, with your conveyancer, and then you will have a final inspection. On that final inspection, a lot of people think, oh, there's a bit of paint peeling on the wall. Oh, there's a scratched floorboard. None of those things actually matter in the final inspection. What you're looking for is everything that was ticked on the front page of the contract still remains in the property and that there's been no malicious damage.
Can you tell Madison's got a pet peeve?
Yes, I do have a pet peeve.
Madison loves final inspections.
Love final inspections. I just sent through. So you are looking for whatever's on the front page of that contract, making sure your range hood's still there, making sure your blinds are still there, and no malicious damage. So there's been no fire in the kitchen. There's no hole in the wall from an argument. There's, nothing intentional.
What kind of properties are you selling?
Depends on the suburb.
Oh no, we're gonna stop that.
Yeah.
Oh no.
So yeah, that's just basically what you're looking for. And then day of settlement will come. And usually your final inspection will be within that 48 hours of settlement day. And then settlement comes, that beautiful PEXA, that beautiful program that someone invented and is making millions of. That will all go through seamlessly, we hope. And you'll arrange.
It very rarely actually goes through seamlessly. Please don't listen to Madison.
On our end, it looks great.
Yeah, definitely don't bank on a 1, 2, or 3 p.m. settlement because it's generally going to happen an hour, 2 hours later.
Exactly.
Do not book your removals for 9 a.m. that day. Fill the van up and pray that you're going to get your keys at 1 p.m. because it is very, very unlikely.
No, look. At the end of the day, on settlement day is also when if you're paying more than a 10% deposit, that's also when the rest of your money comes out.
Yes.
So for context, there's 2 types of deposits. There's the deposit you pay to Ben and Madison, and there's the deposit you pay to the bank. It doesn't actually go to the bank, so to speak, but Madison and Ben go to my public account. We've been through this. Go straight to Dan Murphy. No. So, for example, a lot of people when they buy a house, in a perfect world, we all wish we had a 20% deposit plus stamp duty costs, right? In the event that you do, generally speaking, you'll pay 10% to Ben or Madison's trust account. That is obviously the vendor's security deposit, effectively. That's your commitment to buying the property. But if you've told the bank you're actually contributing 20% and the bank is funding the remaining 80%, you got to pay the rest of that money, and that generally will get paid at settlement through PEXA. It's all done electronically, and your conveyancer generally handles the bulk of it. Usually the week of settlement, you will get an email or a phone call from your conveyancer, and they will tell you exactly how much is left outstanding after all adjustments and bits and bobs are sorted, and you basically pay the rest of the money over. Or in some cases, you can also just open a new account with your lender and give them authority to debit the money out of your account on settlement day. But generally speaking, there is more than a 5 or 10% deposit to be paid. If you're putting in more, then that's when it happens. It's at settlement on settlement day. Stamp duty included if you're paying stamp duty.
Oh, good old stamp duty. Donation to the government.
Oh, no, we're not. This is not a political podcast. We're not.
Sorry.
We're not going there. We just had an election. We're not going there.
Next episode.
In terms of other bits and pieces that we wanted to talk about, so Madison before mentioned paperwork. Paperwork's always really fun.
Yeah.
The 2 main things you obviously sign at the point of having an offer accepted are the contract of sale. Most of the time, that's not done digitally via DocuSign. There's no need for physical paper signing anymore. And then once again, why are we getting politically? We're not doing this.
I'm just joking.
Yeah, she says that. Anyway, so mortgage documents. So once you actually go back to the bank or the broker and they get you your final approval, unconditional approval, happy days, the bank will send out another bunch of paperwork that needs to be signed. For the most part, it is electronically signable. In some instances, there are still actual paper documents to sign in this case. So sometimes a bank, when you sign the contracts, there's the actual bank loan contract, which outlines the conditions of the loan itself, things like your interest rate, your repayment, the loan term, everything like that. And then there's the actual mortgage document. So the mortgage document is uniform in the state that you're purchasing in. The only details that change, obviously, the address, the land titles reference, and the mortgagor and the mortgagee. That document is a bit more complicated. In some cases, that actually has to be physically wet signed with a witness. If it's a pretty straightforward purchase or a straightforward lending scenario, it can just be digital signed, especially in New South Wales. Outside New South Wales, I believe Queensland will not let you ever docu-sign your mortgage document. So it's got to be hard signed and then posted back to the bank, which can be a giant pain in the neck.
I know how Oz Post is.
Yeah, we all know how Oz Post is.
We're roasting today.
Madison didn't get her team order today, so she's still seeding.
Air fryer's lost in translation.
We're not going to talk about your air fryer situation, are we? We're not going there. Right? We're going to lose a viewer straight away. Being your husband. But no, for the most part, the paperwork can be a pain in the neck. Yes. So usually, from my end, if I do have to get documents wet signed, I will actually print them and go see my clients because they can be a pain in the neck.
And we have our beautiful nonas, grandmas, grandpas that do love to
physically sign
put pen to paper, and you know what? We let them have
That's
their
a good
moment.
old-fashioned way to do
It's
it.
good. We love it.
Nothing wrong with it.
Yeah. A good old hug.
Yeah, very true.
Other than that, other bits and bobs that we had to talk about in terms of preparing for settlement. Oh, I've got a good question. At what point do you pick up the keys? How do you organise key picking?
Great question, Christian. I know I sort of hashed on it before. You've got to wait for that order on the agent. the agent that you're dealing with should notify you. We do our very best too,
If
but
it's Ben, you might not get the notification.
oh no, you'll get a notification,
Sends a
and I'll be
thumbs up.
standing there with the keys and a bottle of wine in hand for you. Nah,
Red cup.
look,
Promoting
ideally,
alcoholism amongst your customers.
got to look after the people.
Of course.
On settlement day, yeah, I think we did sort of mention before, the agent will get in touch with you before. You'll organise your final inspection. They'll probably organise a day and a time to come and pick up the keys.
Sometimes the agent will meet you out there if they're floating
100%.
around.
If we're feeling
nice, if
exactly
you're nice
right.
along the way.
If it's like a Friday at 5 p.m, maybe I might be there. I might be at the pub. I don't know. No.
Yeah, Ben has probably. I wouldn't put it past Ben to do a key handover at the pub.
Oh, it's just looking after my clients. It's networking.
Buy a schooner with the keys.
Exactly right. So yeah, come settlement date, we actually have to wait for the order on the agent, as we're joking around, before we can release the keys to you. So
Okay.
yeah, sort of don't bank on a time. Ideally, your solicitor will tell you it will be, for example, 1, 2 or 3 p.m,
Yep.
but it could definitely run behind.
Yes.
Okay. I have another question for you guys. Obviously, in a lot of cases, especially first home buyers, right? You're buying a property with the intention of moving in yourself. It's going to be your first home. What if the property you've bought already has tenants in there?
It's a good one.
What happens?
Go on,
How
Mads.
do you,
So
as the government says, to get your first home buyer benefits, you've got to move in. What if there's someone? What if they're under lease?
So most of the time you will have if there is a tenant in there, they'll either be on an expired lease. Well, it is one of the two. They'll be on an expired lease or they'll be on a fixed term.
It's making you sound
What do you
way
mean?
more
People
complicated.
can't just live in properties with no leases?
Oh, I
What
don't
if they're-
know.
What if they're squatting, Matty?
Well,
Yeah.
that's a whole different episode.
Oh.
That's a whole nother episode. So if they're on a fixed term, basically there's an end date for that lease. It'll be in the contract and it will be, we usually don't do, well, our office specifically wouldn't do more than a 12-month lease for a residential property anyway.
Yep.
So you're looking at a 6, 9 or 12-month lease. In saying that, you'd hope that at least, a month of that has passed during the sales process. They haven't signed a new 12-month lease on the day of settlement, which I highly doubt that would be the case. So you still
Pretty sure
have
that'd be illegal. It's outside the scope of
exactly
the
right.
contract, right?
Yeah,
Exactly
your
right.
contract will state if it's subject to tenancy or
Exactly.
vacant possession.
So there'd be 99.9% of the time you're going to have a lease. It's about 10 to 11 months still running, if not less.
Okay.
So I guess, taking on a property that is tenanted, you can give that notice.
And what's the standard notice period if you
So-
do want to terminate the lease early?
Well, you can't if they are in a fixed term.
If
Okay.
they're in a fixed term, you are locked in.
You are
You
locked
can
in.
try and
Right.
negotiate and pay
Yeah.
to financially bribe someone almost to get out of a property, but
Benjamin, this is a
If you
family
help
friendly
me, I'll
podcast,
help
mate.
you.
This is,
yeah, well,
no.
look,
No,
in
no,
those,
no,
Of course,
in
if you
those
help me, I'll help
situations,
you.
yeah, 100%. We try and work with tenants to say, ideally, we'll try and help you secure something else, but
Yeah.
it's not always the case.
And they don't have to. They legally don't have
Yep.
to, but you can give them that notice. I mean, at the moment, legislation's always changing. We're getting new updates every day of what the new notice periods are. But, say that tenant has 6 months left on their lease, just making sure that the property manager you do take on takes that notice period into account, sets a date in their diary, and you can move in within your dates that you need to require your first home buyer's grant.
Which I'll wait on that one. You don't have to move in on the day of settlement. You
No,
have
you have
a
to-
pretty large grace period.
Yes.
It's generally you have to move in within the first 12 months in order
Yeah.
to be able to claim
And we
it.
do have so many first home buyers that do want that little bit of help and stay at home a little bit longer and save. And they do ask for a 10-month lease, an 11-month lease even. Some people really like to push it fine and give that notice for you to move in that last month that you can.
Finish the thought. There we go.
Yeah. I thought I was going to be saying something wrong there. Moving in on that last month in order to qualify for that first home owner's grant. So definitely not an issue if you are looking to buy a property that is tenanted. Just always take into account in the contract that, you do have time to meet those qualifications.
Thank God we have a disclaimer at the end of our podcast episodes.
Yeah.
I'll add one
Take it with a
there as
grain of
well.
salt.
If the lease is expired, we issue a 30-day notice on exchange.
Get out.
Ooh.
Oh, that's very
That's
harsh.
rough.
But
That
yeah,
is
so
brutal.
out of your 42-day settlement, that gives the agent 30 days to actually help the tenant secure something else.
exactly.
So then we can give you vacant possession.
Look, majority of the time they've been great. They've given us access for those open homes. They've helped us out. We really want to help them find a new home that they can move into seamlessly. And, that's our job to make sure all parties, not just the vendor and the purchaser are happy, that the tenant is also happy as well.
Exactly.
Because they might be a
Follow-up
customer
question
one
for you
day.
both. What if the purchaser has the intention of they're an investor, they want to keep tenants in, or if it's vacant possession, getting tenants in, can they do that through the selling agent? What's the process? What do you have to do if you want to make that happen?
They definitely can.
That's a good sales pitch. Go on,
Ideally,
son.
ideally, you just
Nothing
call
is
Madison or
impossible.
I, and then we'll come and we'll make sure we get a tenant for you. But
Yeah.
if the property's vacant, for example, the agent can allow you access early to try
Yeah,
and
that's what I try and do.
advertise. Yeah, if we've got a vacant property, we'll try and get it on in the last week, 2 weeks
Well,
before it settles.
I don't think it even hurts. What I've done in the past is I get the property leased out straight away, and have the vendors collecting rent right up until settlement. And when the day the property settles, then obviously the purchaser takes on. And, it's an extra, depending on obviously how much the property rents out a week, it's a couple extra $1,000. It could cover their legal fees for their new property that they're buying, or the property that they currently are selling. Just those couple extra $1,000 for those 6 weeks sometimes is a no-brainer. So getting a tenant in straight away can always help.
I love the click for added
There's a bit of
emphasis.
a click. That's it. Yeah, if you're working with
Get the
the
soundboard
same,
happening,
Our poor audio guy in the corner there is not having fun right
finding
now.
the click button.
Sound effects are easy. He's trying to mute the microphones. No, look, that pretty much covers that. That's good. I think that's pretty much it for this segment, unless you guys can think of anything else you want to add.
no, I think we've done it right here.
It basically gets you to the finish line. Realistically, it's get to settlement, pay the rest of your deposit, get the keys off Ben at the pub, put a little
And
bit in the
marry your
pokies as well,
mortgage.
and off you go.
Yeah, marry
Marry
your
your
mortgage.
mortgage. I do.
Well, you know what? That takes us into our next segment. Next segment is going to be what happens after settlement. 'Cause-
I thought it was fun, broker a wife, but I'm talking about I do.
No, that's going to be part of our exclusive How's It Going TV.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah,
okay.
It's like make a reality show, find the mortgage
Okay.
broker a wife. For context, just so everybody listening does know, Ben and Madison are both married. I'm not, so it's I sometimes wind up being the butt of the joke there.
That's all right. We'll get you there.
Single and ready to find your mortgage.
I'm going to plead the fifth here, Honor. No further questions at this time.
Cut.
Yeah, cut. Dom, hit pause. No, but next segment is going to be once you do marry your mortgage, what does that marriage actually look like? Is it an abusive one? Is it full of love? Is there going to be children
Well,
involved?
it depends how much you took on. You should have known what you're up with from the beginning if you had a really good broker. So yeah, you should have not seen any red flags up front. Should have been transparent.
How's your mortgage going, Ben?
Yeah, my mortgage is going great. Great. Yeah, no, Christian really hooked
They've
me
even
up.
got a baby on the way.
Yep.
It's beautiful, actually.
Your mortgage broker just must be that good.
He is.
No, but
Can even afford a child.
In this economy.
you sound now he's already making dad jokes. He's not even a dad yet.
Yeah, that was terrible.
But no, there is obviously a lot that happens once settlement does happen. There's a lot of things to take into account and keep in mind. Obviously, the biggest one being the biggest financial commitment of your life, generally speaking.
Yeah,
when you buy your
other
first
than your
property.
wife.
I would argue the mortgage is bigger personally.
Debatable.
I don't know what wife you have.
I'm looking around the room. Actually, I'm the only person who's not married in this room. There's five of us
Everyone in the room
It's,
is nodding.
Yeah, it's not great for me. But no, realistically, the first thing that happens after settlement is you need to know when your first repayment comes out. Your payments will always be on the anniversary of your settlement date, depending on what frequency repayments you chose.
What is the difference between a weekly, fortnightly, or monthly mortgage repayment?
Do you want the really mathematical answer, or
Go
do you
for
want
it.
Dumb
Make
it
yourself
down
look
for me,
smart.
please.
No, let him have his chance.
No, the reality is the difference it actually makes in the long run, it is not that critical of a difference. Most articles you read online, they'll always tell you pick weekly repayments. By choosing weekly, you make more repayments over the course of a year as opposed to monthly.
Are you telling me what I heard on TikTok is incorrect?
No, it's a partial truth. That's what TikTok's very well known for.
Always went down the route of if you get paid weekly, pay weekly. If you get paid fortnightly, pay fortnightly. Or if you pay monthly, get paid monthly, pay monthly. That's always comes down to how you budget yourself, is how you make your mortgage repayments.
Correct.
Was my understanding.
There's no secret to paying off your mortgage quicker other than you just need to be smart with your money, and you should always be paying extra into your home loan.
That's where we're going wrong. That's it, Ben. That's where we are.
Don't
Absolutely
take advice from us. Realistically, when you go weekly versus monthly, for example, technically speaking, from a mathematics point of view, yes, you make extra payments throughout the year because there's 52 weeks in the year and only 12 months, so it doesn't quite translate exactly. In terms of how much of a difference that actually makes over the course of 30 years, I'll give you an example. For context for the listeners at home, I used to work for ING a long, long time ago. That was where I sounded like every old lady that I used to speak to on the phone. That's where I started writing home loans. Before I was a mortgage broker, I was writing direct home loans for one of the banks. And I remember the system that they made us use back then on the last page of that software. That's when you used to pick weekly, fortnightly, or monthly. And based on your selection, it would tell you what the total interest you would pay over the life of the loan would be on the assumption that you only paid the minimum repayments. And I actually had a gentleman ask me once. He said, I've read this online somewhere. I don't know how true it is. I'm sure you can tell me. That was his first mistake. I said, I'm not going to tell you the computer is. And he asked me this. He said, what's the difference if I choose weekly? I'll get paid monthly, so it's more convenient. But if it's going to save me money, I'll do weekly. And I said, I don't know. Let's find out. And I remember flicking it over, and his mortgage, I can't remember exactly what it would have been. It was a long time ago. It would have been probably about 500,000-600,000. So pretty in line with the average mortgage these days. And I don't remember the exact figures, but I remember telling this man that the difference, if he went weekly versus monthly, was probably about $300 or $400 over
the lifespan of the loan.
Oh, wow.
Correct. The thing is, that's if you only ever pay the minimum. If you're making weekly repayments and you're paying a little bit extra every week, that is when you will feel the benefit. Because of compounding interest and the way that works, even if it's only a little bit, it's all about making extra payments as often as you can.
So broad spectrum, doesn't matter. If you are adding extra to your mortgage, do it weekly.
Correct. No, not necessarily. At the end of the day, interest is calculated daily. So the way the banks do it, they calculate your interest bill on a per day basis at the close of business based on what's owing. And then they charge it to your account monthly. So the reality is, whether you're making those extra payments weekly, fortnightly, monthly, it doesn't matter. As long as you are putting as much extra into your loan as you can, it will help pay your loan off quicker.
Beautiful.
Throw a bit of a spanner in the works. I don't know if I'm jumping ahead, but an offset account.
Ooh. I never got to finish my first point about when your payments come
Settle
out.
down.
You kick off.
On the
sorry.
anniversary of your loan. So
I was just getting excited.
Ben gets very
All this
excited about
finance
offsets and
talk.
regionals. So repayments, if you choose monthly repayments, for example, I'll give you guys, my mortgage comes out monthly because I get paid monthly. It's just convenient. It's easy. Less headache and hassle for me. If my loan were to settle on today's date, which is the 5th of May, my first repayment would come out on the 5th of June, provided it's a business day. If not, it'll be the next available business day. And from that point on, your repayment will always come out on that particular date of the month. Same with weekly and fortnightly. It's, if it's settled today, it'll be in a week's time from today's date. So the 12th of May. You can put that for a second. To Ben's question, offset versus redraw. The reality is, from a point of view of how much money you save, there isn't a difference. Provided all things held constant. I remember in my economics degree, they used to teach us the phrase to live by, which is ceteris paribus, all things being held constant. All things equal. It's Latin, Madison. No, if you had 50 grand parked in offset versus 50 grand parked in redraw, you will save the same amount of money in interest. Okay. The only difference is where the money sits. So if you go for a variable rate home loan, generally speaking, most banks, if you go variable, I don't want to say all, but majority of them now will give you a redraw facility for free. It's just included as part of most variable home loans. You can make as many extra payments into that redraw facility as you want. And you can pull out as much as you want, as often as you want. You're not capped. And generally speaking, most of the time, not always, there'll be disclaimers at the end of the podcast, but usually there's no fee in doing that. Whereas an offset, what it does is the bank will basically open up an everyday transaction account. The transaction account is ultimately linked to your home loan, and it does the same thing the redraw does. So when you put extra money into your redraw, it'll actually physically lower the balance owing on your home loan, and the extra money you've stored in there will show up as available funds for redraw. But it actually physically reduces the balance. So a lower balance owing means less interest. What the offset will do is the money sits in an everyday transaction account, which can be linked to a debit card. You can get paid straight into it and you can pay all of your bills out of it. So you can use it as your daily accounts. The money that is parked in your offset doesn't actually lower the balance of your redraw, doesn't lower the balance of your loan, sorry. What it does is on the back end, it'll just reduce the balance that the bank is calculating your interest bill on, which when you sum it up, it's the same result. If you've got 50 grand extra money, let's say you got an early inheritance, something like that, I don't know, you come into about 50 grand. If you dump it into the redraw or dump it into your offset, the overall savings to you in interest are the same. It's reducing the balance that the interest is being calculated on by the same amount.
Okay.
That's why you have the degree.
And that's why you go and talk to a mortgage broker because, yeah,
Imagine if you talk to a good one too. You get even better explanation.
Yeah, I know. Does anyone know one?
I don't. No, to your point, Maddie, they don't teach you that in a finance degree. You learn a whole bunch of extra really fun, useful things, but not that. I'm trying to think anything else that needs to be covered in terms of once your loan is settled, what do you do? It's basically, you got to slug it out. Start paying your loan.
It's
Start being an
that's
adult.
definitely your side of things. The real estate agents, people
Hand the
generally
keys
forget
over.
us. Yeah, that's it.
Well, I disagree with that. What if you are an investor and you bought a
very
property
true.
from Ben and you thought this guy seems like he knows what he's doing? There's your first mistake. But let's say you run with the mistake, and you use Ben and his team as your property management team.
Yep.
What are you going to be offering? What do people need to know?
Well,
How does it work? I guess the better question is how does it work in terms of obviously you guys charge a fee, right?
we do charge a fee.
You
You're
do it
going to
all for
pay.
love.
Yeah,
All for
exactly
love.
right.
It's such a love job.
We get up out of bed every day and we just smile at the mirror and say,
it.
"I'm going to
You
be an
can do
agent for
this.
nothing today."
You can do this.
I guess to really dull it down, the beginning step would be having an agent. You're then going to sign an agreement for that agent to look after the property for you.
Well, the sales agent, 90% chance that I'm just really throwing out a percentage there, would have a rent roll. So I guess if you like the sales service they've provided, hopefully their property management team does reflect. Hopefully does reflect the same work as
you
what
both
they've done
work in
for
property management at one point.
You did.
you. Yeah, and that's why I can say I hope we both can do it.
We can do it,
We can do it.
100%.
If
Yeah.
Ben and Madison can do it, anybody can.
Oh, he's breaking our hearts here. So you're going to sign an agreement with that agent. Then they're going to manage the property for you pretty much. And that involves
How do you pay
finding
the
a
fees?
tenant. You actually don't pay the fees per se. The fees can be paid from the rental monies. So
Okay, so the rent doesn't just hit your account.
No.
No.
So that's a part of our service as well. You will set up a mid-month or an end of month or both. That rent money, all your deductions on your statement will come out. You may have paid your water bill out of it. You may have had your air conditioning service that month. Your debits and credits will be there. And a part of those debits will be the management fee, which is the percentage that you agree on.
So you guys hold the money for me.
Yes, again, in our personal account.
I thought it was the public.
if you have
Public
to ask
account.
for it,
Sorry,
to get
sorry.
it. Yeah, it sits in our account, and then when you finally go, "Hey, do I have
Where's
any
my
rent?"
money?
We'll transfer it over.
Yeah.
And if Ben had a really lucky night at the pub, you might get double the rent.
Which is hardly ever the case.
Oh, gosh.
Poor Ben's copying it. I feel I need to give him a break.
It's only fair. It's only fair, I guess.
Okay, so realistically, once you sign the agreement, it's pretty automated. It's basically
we try to make it. The idea is really if you're going to pay a property manager to do it, we're going to do the hard work for you. We're going to go out. We're going to do inspection of the property.
Find you the best tenant.
Find you the best tenant. Monitor that they're actually making their rental payments.
In which we have a lot of background stuff. A lot of staff, a lot of databases, probably not the right word, a lot of technology and programs that we have in place to make sure that their rent's being paid on time. Within 48 hours of their rent being behind, we're on their arse. Was that the first word?
No, I said smart ass.
Okay, on their butt. We're on their butt, making sure they are paying their rent.
Yeah.
It's okay.
And ensuring that they're just looking after the property as well.
As if it's their own,
Yep.
because that's the most important thing.
100%.
Okay, we're going to stick on the trend of swearing. You're full of shit. No one's going to look after it.
You do, you may.
Some honestly,
We have some
I'm gonna-
beautiful tenants.
I'm going to play the devil's advocate here. I'm going to be the cynic in the room and say probably not.
it's
but
probably
that's why we
everything
have
in
you.
life.
That's why I pay you guys, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly right. And then
I'm not going to trust the tenants at all because if I was a tenant, I wouldn't look after it like it was my own. But that's
Some-
what
some
you
people
guys.
want-
That's why I will never be accepting your rental application.
do not apply here, Christian.
I wasn't going to anyway.
Married to his mortgage.
Oh yeah, it's a long commitment. I think that's about it for today's episode, guys. Where we set ourselves not a time limit, but we wanted to try and keep to a rough time frame so you don't get sick of our
We know
voices
the
too
attention
soon.
span these days.
Oh, mine's
with
already
TikTok
drifting.
is not all there.
That's pretty much it for today's episode. That kind of rounds out a little bit of a two-parter. So from here, we're going to encourage everybody to go follow the socials for our podcast.
Yep.
We
How's it going?
yeah, and look, at the end of the day,
Good,
we're
thanks.
That's good. Didn't ask.
we try to be professional. As you can see, we don't do a great job of it. And I think the general idea behind this podcast is we want to be able to speak freely and openly. And we understand that the process is, frankly, shit. It's extremely convoluted. It's hard. It's
But if
difficult.
you can understand, in a more general term, people speaking, not agent speaking.
Yeah,
and
But we're all people.
We're all people, and
you don't have to go into this situation daunted or scared or anything.
intimidated.
At the end of the day, we all put our socks on in the morning, socks and shoes, and walk out the door.
That's it. We're all just people.
I wasn't sure how is it
trying to make a difference.
I wasn't sure how existential Ben was going to go.
Yeah,
there.
I know, I
We
didn't
all
know
we
how
all
far
look at
to
the
go
same
back.
sky,
Thank
and
God
the
you put
same
your shoes
sun
on.
every morning.
Yeah, exactly right.
Thank God you put his shoes on.
And
If he was coming to work in socks.
Then Ben's wife puts the shoes on for him.
Yeah. Yep. She puts my clothes out for me every night.
Shout out Tegan. Thank you. I think that wraps it up. So look, the aim is to put out more specific episodes that aren't this general. We want to talk about topics that we think are going to help people navigate the very murky world of property, buying, selling, everything between.
Yep. And any video suggestions, questions that people do have that you would like a specific episode on, would love you guys to shoot that into a message or a comment.
Yes. And if anybody wants to sponsor the podcast, that was a joke. Don't look at me like that.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
That was a joke, Benjamin. It's okay.
Panicked a little bit.
It's all right. I've got Joe Rogan on speed dial. No, I think that's it. Anything else you guys want to add?
I think we're all good.
No. Just kick it on. Episode 3.
All righty. How did we were going to end the podcast, Ben?
See ya.
Ciao.
No.
Oh, sorry. No.
We said we are going to say, how's it going?
How's it going?
How's it going?
Ciao.
Ciao.
All right, thanks for tuning in. See you guys in the next episode.
Bye.
Ciao.
Everything presented in this podcast is for information and entertainment purposes only, and all advice is to be considered general in nature. It does not take into account your personal circumstances and financial objectives. Please consider if this advice is right for you and look to consult a financial professional.